Morning, everyone. My name's Chris Edkins. I'll be your worship associate today. I'm a member of the worship committee. Welcome to Westside Unitarian Universalist Church. We are a church where who you are and the values you embody in your everyday life are more important than the specifics of what you believe. We have a bunch of announcements this morning. One is join us for coffee hour each Sunday after the service, and also join us for our second Monday lunch, which will happen on August 8th at 11:30 at Corner 16. Details are in your order of service, or you can contact Diane Gray or Judy Burgett to get more details. Thinking about theology, Wednesday at 6:30 on Zoom. The Zoom link is in our newsletter, and if you're not signed up for the newsletter, see Brad after the service, he'll sign you up. The Book of Lost Friends is the book that we're studying in the book club at the moment. They will be meeting on Saturday, July 23rd at 10 a.m. via Zoom, and the Zoom link's in the newsletter. Our next Earth Church East Tennessee meeting is going to be July 31st at 3 p.m. Join Reverend Carol Bordeaux for an Earth-centered gathering each month close to the new moon. We'll sit in sacred circle and share experiences of inspiration in nature and create ritual together, meeting outdoors weather permitting. Spirit Quest 2022 is coming up very soon, August 5th. That's Friday to Monday, August 8th. With Reverend Carol Bordeaux. It's $25 per person donation to Westside, plus bring food to share. And that's going to be held at Elkmont in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. So I'm really looking forward to that myself. If you can provide transport for somebody who's not mobile to Westside on Sundays, then we'd like your help. And there's a form to fill in. You can find the link in the newsletter. Fill out that form and we'll know who you are and to contact you when somebody needs a ride to the church. So we'll do our chalice lighting next.
Despite what it says in the order of service, I'm not Craig Brandt, but we're helping out this morning. Human musicians have long appreciated bird songs. Many indigenous cultures mimic bird song, as have European composers. Across human cultures, the songs of the thrushes are prized because of their beauty and complexity. For example, the hermit thrush uses thirds, fourths, and fifths, and sometimes a whole octave of overtones in its song. Overtone series also play an important organizing role in human music. Is this why we love the songs of the thrush? Henry David Thoreau wrote, "The thrush alone declares the immortal wealth and vigor that is in the forest. Whenever a man hears it, he is young, and nature is in her spring. It is a new world and a free country, and the gates of heaven are not shut against him." Birds and indigenous tribes and their songs form an interconnected web. Bands in the Coachella Valley are descendants of the Cahuilla people, the bird people. In the desert, water is scarce. These bands migrated to follow bird migrations when it got too hot and dry in one area. This was how they knew when to move and where to go. Birdsong ceremonies were performed before these migrations, which kept the bands connected with others in the basin.
Thank you, Linda. And now we'll have the sounding bowl. I'm Yetta Jager. I was raised on the ancestral lands of the Oneida Indians in upstate New York. Craig and I just came back from a very good and bad trip. It took us 2.5 days to get back to Tennessee from New York. But while we were up there, we visited the Women's Rights Museum in Seneca Falls, and there we learned that some of the early suffragettes, like Lucretia Mott and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, were inspired by the Oneida tribes and the other tribes that were part of the Onondaga Six Nations. And the United States government is actually modeled on the governance of the Iroquois Confederacy, not the Onondaga, the Iroquois Confederacy of 6 tribes, because it's an interconnected group of loosely related bands. And I'd like to share with you a creation story for Birdsongs that was told by Oneida parents to their children. And if you listen closely, you'll find some parallels to the biblical creation story in the Bible. So long, long ago, the birds had no songs. And as the Creator walked through the forest, it was completely silent. But over in the next valley, he heard the Oneida people chanting and drumming and perhaps even playing the flute, as Chris will for us later. And he thought, the birds should have a song too. And so the next day, the Creator called a large council and he asked each species of bird to send a representative. And so soon the sky was filled with beating wings, and all of these representatives came in and landed on their perches, and the trees and bushes their branches were all bent down because they were so filled with so many different birds. And at the council, they agreed that they would also like to sing. The Creator told the birds that the next morning as the sun rose, they should each fly up as high as they possibly could, as high as their wings would carry them. And when they got as high as they could, they would be assigned a song. And the bird that flew the highest would get the most beautiful song, and those that didn't fly so high would have songs, but perhaps not quite so beautiful. So before the sun rose the next morning, the birds prepared. They were all in a flutter, so to speak. They were all excited except for one, the little brown thrush. She was perched right next to the bald eagle, and she was so small, and the eagle was so large. So she felt very small, and she kind of despaired of being able to get a very nice song, but it was important to her. She didn't think she would be able to compete against such a big, powerful bird. But suddenly, the thrush had an inspiration. She flew up, and she landed in the back of the eagle's feathers of his neck, and she buried herself under his feathers, and the eagle didn't notice. So at dawn, the contest started, and the sky filled with fluttering wings, eclipsing the sun. And after a while, some of the smaller birds began to weaken, and they dropped out and came back down. The little hummingbird was the first one to come back down to earth. And the tiny bird just beat its little wings so fast that to this day, if you listen closely, the humming of its wings creates a constant refrain that says, "Wait for me, wait for me." It's a very simple, plain song. So as the sun began to set, only a few larger birds remained, like the hawk and the owl and the buzzard and the loon, and of course, the eagle. They climbed higher and higher, and when the sun rose, there was only one bird left going up, and that was the mighty eagle. But as the day progressed, the eagle started to get weary, and the little thrush, feeling that loss of momentum, woke up. And when the eagle said, "Oh, I've won this, there's nobody left in this contest," and he started to dive back down to earth, and the thrush hopped out and started to go up higher. And the little thrush heard some great sounds up in the sky and flew into the spirit world through a hole. And there she received the best song that existed among the ones that were assigned to the birds. It was very complex, and she had to learn it first, and it took her a while to master it. And we're going to hear what that sounds like from our great maestro in the sky, Brad Kurtz. So as you can tell, it's very complex. And once she learned the song, she flew back to the earth. And as she approached the earth, she started to think, what's everybody going to think? All the birds were gathered around the council rock, and they looked kind of angry. She worried about the eagle's anger. And knowing she cheated to obtain that complex and beautiful song, she flew off into the woods and hid beneath the branches of a tree. The hermit thrush hides in the forest to this day, never leaving her self-imposed prison. Her shame is great, but sometimes she can't restrain herself and she sings her beautiful song. When this happens, all the other birds and the villagers fall silent. They know they can't compete against the thrush's song from the spirit world, a song that causes the sun to shine on the hearts of those entering the dark forest. And now we'll hear another Native American flute song inspired by the cuckoo by Chris Edkins.
This song is for the Offertory, and I'll announce the Offertory before I start to play. I'm going to take an offering for the support of the church and the wider community. We have a Share the Plate partner who we are helping to support this quarter. It's Pride Knoxville, and 25% of undesignated funds will go to our Share the Plate partner. Or if you want to put money in the envelope, if you want to donate more to our Share the Plate partner, you can grab an envelope and pop that in the box and write Share the Plate partner on it. So please give generously for the support of the church. Now this song, in Britain they say when you hear the first cuckoo in the woods, then you know that the spring has arrived. So I wrote this little cuckoo song to celebrate that momentous occasion that happens every year.
So in the lovely story that Yetta told us about the hermit thrush, did you notice some parallels to the biblical creation story? Both stories involve a valuable gift from the Creator, the knowledge of good and evil, and a beautiful and complex song. In both, the individual receiving the gift on behalf of her species feels shame for breaking the rules. We've explored the mythical side of birdsong, but what about the science? So how do birds sing? Unlike humans, birds have 2 larynxes, one for each lung. As a result, some birds, like the thrush, can duet with itself and even harmonize. But why do they sing? To attract mates of the same species? It is biologically important to have a distinct song to maintain distinct species. Some species, like the Carolina wren, sing duets with harmonies to find each other during mating. If birds simply wanted to attract a mate of the right species, they would stick to the script, right? Instead, after they repeat the theme several times, they begin to improvise and create variations. It turns out, birds prefer songs with a balance between repetition and novelty, just like we do. Could it be that the male bird tries to impress females by showing that he can improvise better than its competitors? Hormone measurements also suggest that birds actually enjoy singing. In short, we humans don't have a monopoly on musical creativity and innovation, and we share a love for singing with some of our animal friends.
As we conclude, I invite you to notice the bird songs around you as you go forward in your day and your week. Learning bird songs is a really good way to recognize species because they're very hard to see, like the hermit thrush. To get started, I highly recommend a phone app called Merlin. And if you're interested in learning more about this, how you can record bird songs and have it identify them for you, or if you want to get together with some of us sometime, and we're probably going to have an auction item offered next year where we organize a bird watching event. So if you're interested in learning more about that, Linda is an excellent birder, as is David Howell, and I'm not sure, there may be some others in the congregation that I'm not aware of. So I invite you to join in this hobby if it's something that you're interested in. And I had an afterthought after I wrote this sermon that I should also invite you to join us in singing. If you're interested in getting involved in the choir, just let us know. So if you're attending virtually, it's time for us to say goodbye. And in the spirit of the cuckoo, which is what Chris just played, we'd say, how does it go? Hello, of weeder saying adieu to you, and you, and you, and you, and you. And the rest of us will take a few minutes to enjoy the wood thrush song by Lori Lewis, which are my...